Please welcome the CEO of Upsie, Clarence Bethea.
Hello, everyone. So raise your hand if you've ever been in a big box store and somebody offered you a warranty when you were checking out. Now keep your hands high. Now keep your hands up if you actually enjoyed that moment. See, technology is changing every industry at the speed of light. And that's why I'm really excited to be here today and to be able to introduce Bernard, because he is on the forefront of what technology is doing to the healthcare industry. See, 3 years ago, we saw 3 distinct problems with consumers and warranties. First, they were paying as much as 900% more than they should. Second, there was no transparency. So we've all been at the register where they say buy or just get out of the store. And then 3, service sucks because we all get that long receipt and we take it home and we put it in a shoebox or a drawer and we forget about it. Well, Upsie wanted to use technology and data to solve all those problems. And today, we get the opportunity to hear from one of the most important people in data who is taking data and moving intelligently for businesses. He has worked with some of the largest companies in the world, Cisco, Walmart, and he is the guy that they go to talk to about what they need to do with their data and how they move their business forward. So join me in welcoming one of the best to do it in data, Bernard Marr.
Good morning, everyone. When I speak at this level, can everyone hear me okay? Very good. I was giving a presentation in China probably 5-6 years ago, and this was simultaneously translated, and I asked the same question, and there was no reply. So I spoke louder, and again, there was no reply, and I repeated myself a few times until the lady who organized the talk said, "Mr. Marr, they can all hear you. They just can't understand you." Which is not a great start to any presentation. Hopefully, we won't have this problem today. What I've been asked to do is to talk about artificial intelligence and big data, and to somehow demystify those concepts, and then talk about how it is going to transform healthcare as we know it today. So I will hopefully paint a little picture of where I believe this is all going, give you some ideas of where to start on this journey, and hopefully inspire you to take the first step and use this great technology that we now have available to actually transform healthcare and make this world a better place. At the base of what we are seeing at the moment is this explosion in the amount of data we have available in this world today. Currently, we have around 5 zettabytes of data, right? That's a lot. 90% of those 5 zettabytes were generated in the last 2 years. So we are seeing something that we've never seen before. We now have this digital world where everything we do increasingly leaves this digital trace, whether this is us communicating on social media, uploading photographs onto Facebook, putting something on YouTube, but also simply walking around with our phones in our pockets, having fitness trackers on our arms, driving our cars. All of this is increasingly generating huge volumes of data. These 5 zettabytes that we have today will grow to over 50 zettabytes over the next 2 to 3 years. An entire zettabytes will be genetic data that we are generating that simply we haven't had before. And I believe that this transformation is the beginning, or this huge explosion in data is the beginning of a new digital revolution. I'm a regular contributor to the World Economic Forum, and their founder, Professor Klaus Schwab, talks about this 4th industrial revolution that is just about to happen, that will completely transform all our businesses and all our jobs, like all the previous industrial revolutions did in the past. All this data that we now have available is fueling our ability to use it in completely new ways. Things like artificial intelligence and machine learning are at the forefront of all of this. What we never had before is artificial intelligence, again, is nothing new, right? We've now had AI for the last 50 years. Why is it becoming such an important thing today? The reason is that we now have computing power that we didn't have before, and that we have all of this data available that fuels those artificial intelligence algorithms. In the past, our AIs were not that clever. They were rules-based, so we had to program them to do stuff. If you think about things like translating something from English into Chinese, we had to tell the system, this is how you change the word order, this is how you translate this word into this word. This has never worked because what part of language is that it has this huge tacit component. We learn language through experience, right? You can't explain to me how you are able to speak now in your language, right? In the same way, I can't explain to someone that can't ride a bicycle, this is how you do it. They then get onto a bike and are happily able to cycle. So this learning via experience is a big component of our knowledge, and in the past, computers couldn't handle this because we can't develop an algorithm if we don't understand how this stuff works by ourselves, right? So if I can't explain how to ride a bike, I can't train an an artificial intelligence robot to cycle a bike. The change now is that we have what we call these artificial neural networks. They are basically replicating these neurons that we have in our brains, where we have trillions of neurons. And when we learn something over time, these neurons spark and develop little connections. So if you learn how to cycle, you learn from your mistakes, and you think this didn't work, and you learn how to improve over time. And these neurons make those connections. What we can now do is we can replicate this learning process in our machines, in our computers. And we now have things like machine learning. This is basically our ability to, or the machine's ability to learn new things. So we can give a computer millions of pictures of cats and dogs, and then explain which one contains a cat and a dog. And then the algorithm will learn by itself how to classify and how to distinguish between cats and dogs. This is now fueling this new revolution in terms of AI, where we can use machines to translate, and suddenly they're becoming very good at this. Instead of telling them, this is how you translate from English into Chinese, and these are the rules, we simply give the computer data. And the computer will then develop its own understanding, its own algorithms of how to do this, and these are becoming extremely reliable. Well, we are today in a world where we have earphones that we can simply wear that will translate live conversations. So I'm speaking to you in English, and the headphones will translate this in real time into Chinese. So this is currently changing our world completely, where we have companies like Facebook who use this day and every day to recognize our faces. So if we have uploaded a number of photographs into Facebook, Facebook's deep learning algorithms will take those images, create a 3D image of your face, and then is able to recognize your face elsewhere. Facebook's face recognition capability is now as good as human face recognition capabilities, if not better. So Facebook is now able to run this algorithm, look at the rest of the internet, and find other pictures of you. So if you ever wonder how they might make friend suggestions, this is one of the ways they're doing it. They will recognize your face on photographs. If you appear on photographs with someone else who's also on Facebook, they might make the assumption that you know these people and make a friend suggestion. So this is at the base of this digital transformation that we're seeing. A lot of times what I see is that this is pitched as man versus machine, where we have companies like IBM saying, okay, we build machines that beat humans first in chess, then at the game show Jeopardy. I don't know whether you have seen the recent project Debater, where basically an artificial intelligence algorithm is taking place in a live debate on any topic. So the algorithm will then scan the internet, find the right arguments to make, and then present their case in human language. This is the leading edge of machine capability today. What I actually believe is that the future will be in combining human and machine learning and not seeing them as one is replacing the other. What is interesting is that some of the chess tournaments that are now taking place, where purely machine learning algorithms will compete against humans, humans have no chance. However, when you get teams of combining machine learning algorithms with humans, they are currently better. So there's something to take away from this that is actually about augmenting the way we work, to leverage those new capabilities that we have to drive improvement. Another challenge that I'm seeing is that quite often we want to use this technology to transform our businesses, but instead of really rethinking whether your business model is still the right business model, what we very often do is we simply try to automate the road that we are already on. So we are thinking about how can we improve access to healthcare, how can we make our hospitals more efficient, and actually what is brewing in the background is this huge tornado that is changing our world, where we have completely new competitors coming in, people understanding what this technology can do, and then turning business models completely upside down. And this is what I do with businesses. I work with some of the world's biggest brands to help them understand this challenge and say, okay, is your business model still valid? How is this world going to change? And how can you then respond to this in the most strategic and most successful way? There are two different ways I believe we need to look at artificial intelligence and big data in our organizations, in healthcare, in any business. The first one is to think about how it is transforming the customer and their journey and the products we are offering and the service we are offering to our customers. And the second one is about how we're using this technology to actually improve our internal operations, do things better, automate processes that we can automate to drive efficiencies. So I thought it would be useful to look at each of these and look a little bit into the future and see what is on the horizon, what is already happening, and then hopefully it will spark some ideas in your head to see where this might be going in the future. So the first area is how do we make smarter products, smarter services for our customers. One of my favorite examples is a smart diaper, right? So the first versions of these were not that smart. They would basically send you a tweet saying you need to change your baby. And I have 3 kids. Luckily, they're now out of the nappy stages. But you think, I don't need a smart nappy that tweets me to tell me that I need to change my children's nappy because I have other inbuilt sensors that will probably tell me that I need to do that. However, this technology is developing so fast that the chip that is now in those smart nappies will take a complete urine and stool sample of the baby. It will continuously submit this data to your smartphone. The smartphone will send this to a cloud server where huge computing power is now used to analyze this data. The algorithms that they are now applying to this data are evolving day and day. Initially, they would be able to tell that you're not giving your baby enough liquid. So it would say the hydration levels are low, or maybe the sodium content in their diet is too high. What is happening now is that they are working on this algorithm that will predict infections. And this algorithm will predict infections 48 hours before any physical symptoms appear. And this, for me, is the future, that we are using this technology that we now have available to predict health issues in the future, so we can proactively respond to them and hopefully never see a doctor to treat the symptoms. We now have things like the Apple Watch. That's the first wearable device that is FDA approved because their heart rate monitor is as good as a commercial or a hospital ECG. So it can take a complete heart rate sample, and it monitors our sleep. This data simply didn't exist before. Now we have algorithms that can tell us that your heart rhythm is not right and you need to see a doctor. Before, again, you are even probably aware of some of the symptoms. It also monitors our sleep because we wear these things at night. And for the first time, we are generating hundreds of years of sleep data that, again, a few years ago didn't exist. And we can correlate this. We will hear from Ariana Huffington later about the importance of sleep. This is a great way of collecting this data and correlating your sleep patterns with other diseases. And you can hopefully see the potential of all of this data and bringing this together. Some even smarter products are things like smart pills, smart tablets that you can now take, and they will actually monitor that they have been taken. Some of these will be energized by the acid in your stomach, and they continue to send data to a chip or to your smartphone to tell not only that you've taken the medication, which is one of the biggest problems in healthcare at the moment, that people don't take medication or take too much or too little, and it will be able to measure some of the impact of this. Has it actually had some of the results that you were expecting? One of my other favorite examples is a smart contact lens that basically reads the glucose level in your tear liquid. This can now communicate to an implanted insulin pump in your body. So you don't have to do insulin readings, you don't have to inject anything into your body. All of this is implanted in you. It will operate using artificial intelligence without you having to do anything. And this is, again, something I believe will change in healthcare, that with these smarter products will drive autonomously. They will do things very differently for us. Image data is another thing that we don't use enough. I was with Fitbit earlier this year, and Fitbit is very good at tracking our activity levels. What they're not good at is tracking how much we've eaten. And most people are interested in the calorie balance, right? How many calories have we burned? How many of them, how much have we eaten? And they have always struggled to do this. What they're now starting to work on, or working on very hard and getting very good at, is that we simply take photographs of the food that we're eating. And this artificial intelligence algorithm will look at the photograph and it will detect what is on your plate. It will recognize that these are pancakes and how many of them, what the size is, whether there's any sauce with it, and then it will estimate the calorie content. And if you're able to do this, there's a really interesting application in healthcare again, where there's now a dermatology app that simply you upload onto your phone, and if you believe you have any issues with your skin, you simply take a picture of it. It will, and apparently in dermatology, you can actually recognize lots of diseases, lots of issues, or even whether you might have skin cancer based on those photographs. Again, what this means in the future is that we probably don't need to go to a doctor, queue up to see them. They then look at our healthcare conditions and then make a diagnosis. We can actually skip a lot of this and make it available for free, potentially. Okay, are these working? Excellent. That's a good idea. Okay, let's continue on here then. So what I believe is we need to completely rethink how we apply healthcare, how we use it, how we treat patients, and how we see this patient journey moving forward. The other area is how we use all of this technology, this big data and artificial intelligence to automate some of the things we do and drive process improvements in our organizations. There's a big talk. One of the great examples is that we are now have this ability of having self-driving cars that are driven by AI. I find it much more fascinating to look slightly more into the future and look at self-flying drones. This is not the future. This is real today. This is a picture of a volocopter drone. This takes 2 passengers. I have witnessed the first test flight of this volocopter because in Dubai, they want to have a commercial autonomous flying drone service ready in the next 2 years. Last year, the Crown Prince of Dubai took the first test flight in this. And the idea is that it's a bit like an Uber. You type in saying, I need a ride to this location, and instead of waiting for a car, a drone would turn up. Another great example of using AIs to automate some of the key processes. I'm currently working with an insurance company, and what they're now doing is they're using artificial intelligence not only to completely rethink their customer offerings, where they're now trying to understand how people use the cars, how good their driving is. They pull in external data like weather information and traffic congestion to see whether are you a good driver or are you driving a bit too fast, even in the rain, even in congested conditions. But they're now using this for their internal processes, especially their claims handling. So they're now using a tool that will detect whether someone might not be telling the truth. So it uses an algorithm that listens to the conversation and then predicts whether you are not telling the truth. So if this happens, your claim will just be investigated in a little bit more detail. Another great example is Wimbledon. Wimbledon now, they use a system called Slam Tracker, designed by IBM, that measures everything that takes place on the tennis court. And those data points are now collected from sensors and cameras and put into a database. In the past, they couldn't really use this. What they do today is that they use an artificial intelligence tool to analyze the data and write up a match report, like a sports journalist would do. I have a column in Forbes, and what lots of people don't know is that some of these artificial intelligence tools also work for Forbes. So a lot of the analyst reports, the financial reports that get published, are now written by AIs. And I can't tell a difference between those written by journalists and those written by AIs. So if we can do all of this, we can automate lots of processes in our healthcare. This is a robot that is now being trialed in lots of hospitals to give patients some feedback information saying, when is the next visit, have you taken your medicine, what is going to happen, where is this, where is that? All these questions that take up lots of times from nurses. So there's huge potential to automate some of this. I think the next level up is then automating surgery. This is, again, already happening. Recently, there was the first operation that humans couldn't actually perform on a retina because humans can't keep still enough to cut some of the bits of your eye to perform this operation. Robots can now do this. And again, I started off saying that actually it's not man versus machine, it's working together. And there's a great story using artificial intelligence tools to recognize breast cancer in breast scans. At the moment, we're relying on radiologists to do this. The problem is that sometimes they're tired and they're looking at lots of pictures and they might miss little things. What radiologists are usually very good at is when they're making a diagnosis, they don't have many false negatives. So when they're saying to you, you have cancer, this is usually correct. What they're not good at is detecting little tumor cells that are potentially cancerous, because they're overlooking those. This is exactly where AI and machines are extremely good at. They are able to look at those cells, detect them. And if you're actually bringing those two skills together, you have much more than these individual parts. Because if we only relied on AIs, they would probably tell 40% of all people that have gone to a breast scan that they have cancer, because they can't make this judgment call, whereas humans are able to do this. So if we then combine this and we use pre-scanning done by machines, and they will then flag up those scans that need a doctor's opinion, this will really streamline healthcare. And I see this in other areas where I currently work with the European Parliament, where they are now using AI to automate translation because all documents and all speeches have to be translated into all the membership states, and 95% of all of this is now pre-translated. So the humans can add the real value at the end on looking, is this strategically right? Is sometimes in these documents it's very important to get it exactly right, and this is now the job of humans. So hopefully this has given you an idea of what big data and AI is. Usually it scares people a little bit, but hopefully I can also assure you that there will be a place for humans in all of this. Actually, what I believe is that this fourth industrial revolution will completely transform everything and give us huge opportunities. I don't think there has been a time in our history that has given us more opportunities to transform our world for the better. And I believe applications of AI in healthcare, using machine learning to transform this, to make healthcare more accessible, cheaper, and better, is a real opportunity that we simply can't miss. Finally, if you want to learn anything more about this, please feel free to connect with me, connect on LinkedIn. This is where I publish all my stuff. Everything I write for Forbes and other places, I will republish on LinkedIn, so hopefully we can stay in touch. Thank you very much.